Well, hey there. My name's Jerry Bleeker. One of the things I've been working on since we moved pretty much exclusively to remote learning was developing some of my Google Classroom spaces. And I'm quite a fan. This works really well. But it's as well as a tool works, what's really much more important, at least in my opinion, is what's the pedagogy beyond the tool? Now, I have several classes. I've got Science 10 and a Computer Programming 12, 11. This is my old Biology 11. And over here is my Anatomy and Physiology class. In my Anatomy and Physiology class, previously it was a flipped classroom. What that meant was I put a lot of my instruction already out in the web. My classes are on YouTube, and I'll show you that later. I was a big believer in pasting my own instruction because I do my own assessment, and I think that's really important. Learning how to post your own instruction, it's a little bit of an uphill battle, but once it's done, really it's not much more than screen recording with an iPad. But I've got a tutorial that I can put forth towards that as well. Start small, learn big, try one lesson, and see how it goes. So, what's in this Anatomy and Physiology class? Well, right now, what I do with this Anatomy and Physiology class is using avatars. I'm using anonymous names, right? It safeguards students' information. And what's been quite handy about this organization is the units. And this isn't about Google Classroom. It's more about ideas once you get a digital space created. A digital space could be as simple as a web page, right? You could go to Wix, you could go to wherever you want to go. Google Classroom simplifies this a little bit. But again, what's the pedagogy beyond the tool? This isn't about Microsoft Office. This isn't about Google Docs. This is, what are you doing with your tools, right? So first, I placed my instruction online because I pitch the material, I assess the material, so I want the students to be ready for my assessments. Second, my grade 12 class is in the middle of the reproductive unit. So I have some sort of traditional stuff. What I thought was important was, one, I would have them do research on the reproductive system. So whether it be a web page or whether it's just this assignment that I made in Google Classroom, the point was I wanted them to review the lesson videos and make their own notes, because right now I can't get them the notes packs the same way as I did. They were largely paper-based. I had a flipped classroom. So some students like to do their notes digitally, and others were doing it just on paper. So I assigned this, and you can see here, I'm still waiting for a couple of these to come in, right? But when the notes were turned in, it's pretty neat. I could see some of the items posted here. And the students would post their notes, and I was able to make comments and ask for suggestions. That worked out pretty well. I've had a lot of resubmissions. It's working excellently with feedback. So that's pretty neat to have them submit their notes and receive feedback on that. And I'm largely just guiding them. So that is neat. And what I like in this system like this is I was able to provide that feedback. And when I said it was done, I could just say hand back, okay? Whether that's an email back to the student, that's not what I'm here. I'm not here to talk about the tool. I'm here more to talk about the fact that I had them do their notes and I provided feedback on them and I got that back to them because I wanted to see what their construction of their understanding was. Now, I have a digital textbook for this class, and that resource is working out well. I assigned some questions here, and again, I found that I was providing a lot more feedback because these digital questions, right? These digital questions here, just straight out of the book, just sort of a straightforward 17 points, I was looking at them in much more detail. And again, in Google Classroom, I could just, once I put in the comments, I could just say hand back. That was fabulous. The one that I like, I think the most, other than notes, questions are fine, but I don't, without the feedback, I don't know how far that's extending their understanding. What I think really extends the understanding is when you work on something that's a little bit different. And I'm a big fan of project-based learning. You could call it problem-based learning, but this is something we call Dr. Awesome. And what you get are medical scenarios. So it's literally like learning about the reproductive system through medical scenarios, because you have to find out what's going on with someone, what symptoms are they experiencing, and well, I should show you what this looks like. So this is the PDF that I've sent to the students, and yep, there's Dr. Awesome. No, that's not me. So what we did was we introduced some of these medical scenarios, and I've got the criteria here, right? This isn't the rubric, but this is what you need to know, what any physician would need to know. You literally can go to the Mayo Clinic, reputable, and look up a disorder and develop the symptoms, create a scenario, and then ask the student to summarize those, to research what the affliction might be, talk about how that's affecting the reproductive system. Maybe it's endometriosis. Maybe it's one of a great number of things, right? Fertility treatments. There's so many ideas you could do with biomedical scenarios at the high school level. Now, this is Anatomy and Physiology, grade 12 in British Columbia. And I really open it up because I want the students to be creative, right? They could do screencasts, they could do podcasts, they could do cartoons, they could do animation, right? It's okay to do office documents, but that's just one level. And if you think about, there's a model called SAMR, and in SAMR, what you're thinking about doing is extending things beyond what they used to be. Having students hand in a report is fine, but there's so much more they can do to express themselves now, and really to go after that creativity and to engage that spark of learning. That's what's most important, because they need to come up with a prognosis, right? And they might have several diagnoses and prognoses. That's fine. Getting them to go through the process is the most important thing. So I made medical scenarios. And with these medical scenarios, the students can work alone. Sometimes that's the best number. Some of the students work in teams, and I've been receiving their biomedical scenarios with these. And this is where you really have to put the whole enchilada together. You have to study the reproductive system, know the reproductive system, and then you need to access that knowledge and extend it, interrelating concepts. It really kind of goes to the top of the creative, knowledgeable process. We can talk about Bloom's taxonomy all day long, but creativity and publishing take you to the absolute apex, right? And when it comes to the tools, whether it's an office document, whatever that is, it's just a medium for communication. I think it's much more important to get to this level. This is the pedagogical level, right? This is what matters. So these are the Dr. Awesome scenarios, and I'll be using these throughout my anatomy and physiology class, pretty much through all the body systems. This works out quite well. So what I thought I'd do is just a summary of how you can use medical scenarios as problem-based research, project-based research, right? And really, if they want to present their own medical scenario and they go to a level of inquiry, maybe there's something, that they want to investigate about the reproductive system. They tell me what they'd like to do, and we chat, have some feedback, and I still apply these criteria. If you want to go to a different type scenario, if you want to create your own scenario, absolutely go for it. Okay, so this is how you can use biomedical scenarios to teach your kids to go off into what I think are just much more rich, detailed aspects of learning. So anyways, this is just my idea. My name's Mr. Bleeker, and thanks for listening.